In 2019, I discovered that we have some wonderful areas to access the Calgary area. I didn't know the extent of these areas. And one of these areas starts just below the ridge in Cranston, where I live. There's a path that leads right to Fish Creek Park. So in July of 2019, it was the first summer where I actually started to explore the Fish Creek Park and all its trails while riding my new e-bike. Now, during that time, I watched people float down the Bow River. Raise your hand if you've ever floated down a river. It sure looks like fun. It's not something that I've done, but I enjoyed watching people float down the river. And I noticed that some steering is required around obstacles. But mostly, you just let yourself flow down the river. I never noticed anyone trying to go up the river. I think life is like a river. Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. 3 years ago, in 2016, while traveling down my river, I faced one of the biggest challenges in my life. I was asked this question: George, when are you going to retire? I suddenly got afraid. Is my life over? Is my life ending? And I felt very cold inside. And then didn't know how to react, to respond. And my knee-jerk reaction: I'm never retiring. Looking for answers to this question, my challenge, my wife and I decided to attend a week-long seminar with Jack Canfield in the summer of 2016. The seminar presentation was called Back to Success, or BTS for short. Jack also has wrote a book about the success principles. And he talks about this book. And he starts right off with chapter 1 at BTS. Chapter 1 says, you're 100% responsible for your life, or you need to act as if and start taking more responsibility if you really want to work through your problems. Well, no problem, Jack. I know this. I've been responsible person all my life. But wait, he's saying more. He's saying, yes, responsible, not just for what you do, responsible for what you think and what you imagine as well about what your future might be. And by the way, no more complaining, no more excuse making, no more blaming others. You need to take 100% responsibility. It's got me thinking. He said, use this formula, E plus R equals O. It's just simple addition. For an event that happens in your life, add your response to it, and that determines the outcome that you get. Event plus response equals outcome. Okay. So I thought about this, and I thought about my question and about retirement. And again, I feel that cold come over me. And I don't know what to do. So I asked a question. What do you do if you're getting outcomes that you don't want? And they said, well, before you respond, you usually make up a story in your head, and you are so good at this. Your brain is so good at this, you don't often even recognize you're doing it. And if you make up a vivid enough story, that's what's creating your fear. You're the one creating it because of the story you're telling yourself. So examine your story and ask, is it true? And perhaps for right now, maybe even imagine a positive side to your story. Okay. Well, my story is that retirement is bad for me. And am I afraid? Yes, that's true. But is retirement bad? It got me thinking. Could retirement be positive? And that's the only change that I made in my mind. Could retirement be positive? And I felt my mind relax and unlock. And all of a sudden now I began to get ideas of what my future could be. I have hope, no more ice cubes. I could do whatever I want to do. But I know one thing for certain. I'm not retiring. That's for sure. And then Jack said something else that morning. He said, sometimes you have to give up the good to get the better. And it stopped me. And I thought, is he talking to me? Does he know what thoughts are going on in my head? Well, I certainly got a lot of food for thought that week at BTS with Jack Canfield. A week later, when I get home, I'm much more relaxed about my situation. And hey, the phone rings. And wouldn't you know it, I'm offered a temporary position up north as chief engineer. I said I'm not retiring. I'm going to take that 100% responsibility right now, and I take that position. But I have to tell you that 8 months later, this job isn't working for me. There's no growth. There's no learning. There's nowhere for me to go. I'm just doing the job. It doesn't interest me anymore. So looking for further answers, I find a video produced by Jim Selman on the topic of surrender. Jim says, in order to take new direction towards your goal, you first need to surrender that this direction is not working. He says, sometimes you can sound like a fly trying to get out a closed window, buzzing and buzzing. Stop forcing it to work. Step back. Step towards a new direction to your goal. Right, George. I need to surrender that this direction is not working. And just then my cell phone rings. And this time I'm offered a position in Calgary, 12 minutes from home. This feels right. Home every night, a 4-day work week, and I can join Toastmasters. Well, I certainly have felt this last year that Toastmasters was the right decision, but that job wasn't working for me either. I was bored. I didn't have enough to do. There's no growth for me again. So what do I want? Where is the flow of this river taking me anyway? What am I pretending not to know? Well, let's do a review. I'm 100% responsible for my life. Check. I've been using E plus R equals O for events that come along, and that's working. I'm getting the outcomes that I want. But I have to admit that 45 years in my profession no longer interests me. I'm no longer growing. That direction is not working. Okay, so what do I want? What would happen if I just go with the flow of this river and see where it takes me? And I hear Jack speaking in my mind again. George, sometimes you have to give up the good to get the better. You need to let that go. I get goosebumps thinking about it. That's it. I can explore and discover and investigate and find out what really excites me now. And just do things going forward that I want to do. Not retiring, you understand. Rewiring my thinking to look for the new opportunities. Put positive energy into where my flow takes me now. So my next hurdle then is just something to be solved. I need to become solution oriented. I need to look for the opportunity that interests me, that excites me, that motivates me. So what do I do? Well, Jim Selman says, if you know the combination to the lock, doesn't matter who you are, it has to open. Well, what is the combination to the lock? Well, I think one of the combinations to my lock is E plus R equals O. So let's examine it. E plus R equals O. How can I use this to determine where I'm heading in the future? What if I turn the formula and reverse its direction? Okay, and let's examine it. So what are events? And anyway, what are events? Well, events really are just life happening around you and happening in your life and in your pathway, in your river flow. So place that with life. Okay, then, well, what are the outcomes? But outcomes, when you're thinking about your future, are just your dream. Well, I don't want it just a little dream. I think I need to dream big. So we'll need to make dream bigger. So I got life and I got dream. Now I need to respond. Well, I got this big dream over here. I think that I better get some attitude towards that. So it's going to be attitude. It's going to be response with attitude. We better make it bigger. Make it a big R. Then the challenge is that it's not just a response. It's taking steps towards what I want. It's taking action. So I don't think that it's actually just simply something as response. I think that the R needs to be action when you're talking about working towards your dreams. So now we've got dream and we got action, but what kind of action is it? I think I'm going to get out the magnifying glass here and look closer. And when I do that, I notice that in this case, it's actually inspired action because it's what I've been dreaming about. It's what I'm motivated towards, what I want to do. And I'm inspired to make this happen. So I think what it is inspired action. This dream over here. What would be another way of explaining what the dream is? So dream, inspired action, life. I think that my dreams are really my future. I need to create them. My future is me. I think that it needs to be a G for George. And when I look at this closer, I see what my next steps are. My next steps is I need to set a goal. That's what I need to do. I need to create my opportunities and explore them and investigate them. I need to get inspired and set some goals and take action. Well, what does that mean? What do I want? I need inspired action. I need to look at areas of my life and maybe decide on some things, maybe 3 things that I can achieve in the next year in these possible areas: business, career, financial, investments, health and fitness, personal goals. Do I want more education? Do I want anything that I want to buy? Like an e-bike, maybe. What do I want to do for fun time and recreation and relationship with family and friends? And what about my legacy? And even if I just start taking 5% more responsibility in some of these areas as my first steps, that's a plan. I can see that working. I need to set some goals. So in conclusion, I want you to remember that you need to take 100% responsibility for your life. And you need to look at your events, pick your desired outcomes, and respond in the direction towards getting them. You need to go with the river flow and maybe give up the good to get the better. Get what you really want in life. Look for the opportunities that excite you. Take inspired action, set goals, and learn to surrender and change the direction if needed to keep after that inspired goal. Mr. Toastmaster.